It is great to have you, especially here the week of the South Carolina spring football game, because we know your hubby used to kick for the Gamecocks. So is he a little antsy the week of the spring football game, even in his old age?
Everyone is excited for the spring game this week. I think it's been too long since we've seen and heard about football, and everyone's just super excited for this, and he loves it too.
When is the last time Josh went out and kicked a field goal?
Well, we have some kids that are of football age, and so they're always trying to coax him into kicking the ball, but he's smart enough to know that he's past those days.
Those hamstrings just can't take it anymore.
You're right.
They're not as flexible. Well, it's great having you with us, and we appreciate you being a part of what we do here on Sports Talk. You've got a great law firm, and your concern is about, helping people and making sure that they make those right decisions for years down the road. As you go into your 11th year with your law firm, tell us why that particular route for you with what you're doing.
Yeah, yesterday we actually celebrated our 11th anniversary, which, that's a big deal in business. And it's really just because we've been able to help everyone throughout the state of South Carolina. And I say everyone because, we can help almost everyone with estate planning, with setting up wills and trusts, and getting powers of attorney in place so that you don't turn it, if you have a situation, it doesn't turn into a crisis down the road. You could do some planning on the front end and have everything set up. We always use the sports analogies, like have your game plan. And so you have this plan in place for if something happens, and then it doesn't turn into a crisis.
And what would happen, of course, is if you don't have a plan, somebody's going to make a plan for you, and it might not fit what you wanted when you were trying to come to, when you knew the end was coming. Somebody's going to make those decisions for you, and it might not be what you wanted.
It usually is not what you wanted, and it's either going to be somebody in your family that's maybe not who you wanted, or maybe they're not going to make the choices that you wanted, or it could end up being the state of South Carolina. And, they have all these default rules that trigger if you don't have your own documents. And so a lot of people get in a pinch later on, and there's nothing they could do about it. And we just want to inform everyone so that it doesn't happen to them and their family.
What are the different forms of paperwork? There's the will, for example. Everybody knows about the will, but there are other things as well. What other planning pieces should you have in preparation?
Oh, that's a great question because, I think that a financial, durable power of attorney is one of the most critical documents that anyone over the age of 18 really should have. So, even if you got a kid in college, they're going to the spring game, engaging in other activities, it's still good for them to have because anybody of any age can have something happen to them or a temporary thing or get in an accident. And that's a really important document for everyone to have. And that document needs to look different as you get older. So if you got this stuff done when you were 20 or 30, when you turn 50 or 60, this document needs to be a little more sophisticated for the things you have in life. And then you need your health care directives in case you get sick. You want to make sure that, your sister who's definitely going to pull the plug, maybe you don't want her to pull the plug. Or maybe, maybe you don't want your spouse doing
Hello.
And so, you can make those decisions in these documents. And of course, everybody needs some directive on where they want their stuff to go when they die. But, that's secondary. Like, we want to make sure you're taken care of when you're alive, that your care needs are met, that your family can pay for it. There's a lot of planning that we can do to make sure that you have access to benefits if you need it to pay for care.
At what stage in life do you advise people to draw up their first will?
Well, as soon as you have something you're worried about, if you say, hey, if I go, there's nothing to worry about, then maybe you don't need a will. But again, I still think you need your powers of attorney for your finances and your health care. But as far as a will, and then again, as you do have some more stuff, a trust is a great recommendation for that. But, you can start that in your 30s and 40s. But, you know, by the time you're 50 and 60, you really should have a plan in place. And a lot of people still don't. And it's not as morbid as you might think, because I know it sounds bad. You know, we're not quite as bad as visiting the funeral home. But, you know, we make it a easy to deal with situation. It's not morbid. It's just a conversation. And everyone feels so much better after they get this stuff done.
No question. I mean, you should have your plan in place. And sounds to me like you make it very comfortable and very easy for people to sit down and discuss these sort of tough issues. Let's face it, for a lot of people, it's a very tough thing to discuss.
It definitely is. And that's why it's important to have these conversations before you get sick, before something happens, because it's so much easier to talk about this stuff when you're young, when you're healthy, because as you get older, you know, if you haven't ever done it, it's something that you start dreading or worrying about or trying to avoid. And if we make this a little less of a taboo subject, then people can get what they need in advance, and they don't fall into that crisis mode that some people unfortunately do.
That's great advice. The best way for people to reach you would be what?
Oh, the best way to get all of our information, you don't have to be able to say it, but you got to be able to spell it. You just go to lawyerlisa.com. You can get all the information on there. We also have a Contact Us page. And so if you go in there and you put your email address in there, we have this awesome newsletter that we put out that has all the new law changes. You know, it's pretty hard to keep up with the news these days if you haven't been paying attention. But we are letting people know, like, here's how these new laws actually affect you and what's going on. So it's a great resource. So I tell everyone, go to the website. It's lawyerlisa.com. Give us your email address, and you can get this information direct. And they can also call us, too. It's 803-563-5163.
Always great having you on with us. Have yourself a great football game on Friday if you guys make it out there, and a happy holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That's Lawyer Lisa. You hear about her
talk to you like that
all the time on Sports Talk. As far as what?
Oh, she was taking pot shots at your inability to pronounce Lawyer Lisa.
Lawyer Lisa. I've been practicing lawyer.
She's
It
fine.
was just one night that my mouth was just locked up. My jaw just wouldn't position itself. Yeah, she is. She sounds like
she really is. Yeah.
She'd be a hoot.
And she's right. No one wants to deal with wills. No one wants to talk about end-of-life discussions. But as she pointed out, you don't do it. Somebody's going to do it for you. And it may be the state of South Carolina, as she mentioned. And you definitely don't want that.
Yeah. I'm leaving everything to Winnie. You leaving everything to
absolutely
to Finn.
And I know how she feels, because I have a younger sister, and I don't want my sister having any power of life end of life decisions on my end, because it may be payback time.
She'll walk in and say, "Let me be the one. Let me be
happy to flip the switch."
Yeah. Lisa, thank you very much. Great hearing from you. We appreciate your time and appreciate your support. And good luck to you, and the best to Josh Brown, former South Carolina kicker, of course.